Managing your communications in Bellum can be hard, but this video will make it easier. Comms in games like these can get pretty hectic sometimes, plus the sound design in Bellum intentionally adds to the confusion by simulating the audio side of the fog of war. You may be trying to manage a fire team or even a whole squad while engaging enemy forces with platoon net chatter in your ear and someone mag dumping right next to you. Comms in this game will inevitably get messy. But if you'd like some tips and tricks for managing these comms and understanding the common lingo used in Bellum, this video is for you. And if you're brand new to the game or you'll be starting it up for the first time, this video will cover the basics first. As you probably already know, Bellum is a communications heavy game. Having comms discipline will help you communicate more quickly, give your team key information they need more efficiently, and help keep your squad and platoon radios clear to keep everyone focused. In this video, I'll go over the 3 comms channels in Bellum, basic radio etiquette, and common military lingo and acronyms. If you want to improve your communications and sound a hell of a lot cooler when making callouts and responding on platoon net, this video is for you. So, first off, let's go over the 3 channels available to you in Bellum. This game has local proximity, squad net, and platoon net. You press V to activate local, B for squad net, and N for platoon net. Speaking in local proximity is like talking in person. Everybody close by will hear you.
Man. Dancing.
The voices in-game are affected by direction and distance, so someone right next to you will sound louder than someone further away, and your headphones will place the voice in the direction of the player speaking. You'll want to use the local chat to communicate with people around you, especially your fire team, and especially if you're saying something that doesn't belong in SquadNet. And if you're engaging in some friendly banter with your fellow troops, you'll probably want to keep that in proximity chat. Pressing B to speak in SquadNet will transmit your voice to all of your squad members. Someone speaking in SquadNet will come through your headset's left earpiece and it'll sound like radio comms as opposed to someone standing to your left talking to you. In SquadNet, you want to put any information that's relevant to your entire squad. For example, you're an Alpha Fire team and you're not in close proximity to your squad's Bravo Fire team, and you need everyone in your squad to know that you just spotted an enemy. Putting this information in SquadNet will get everyone online. PlatoonNet is only available to leadership positions. This includes the platoon leader, squad leader, fire team leader, etc. Pressing N will transmit your voice to everyone else in a leadership position, and if someone else is speaking in PlatoonNet, it'll come through your right earpiece. It'll similarly sound like radio comm, so you'll know it's someone in leadership speaking. PlatoonNet can get chaotic at times, so if you're unfamiliar with it, you will have to get used to it. Essentially, what you want to do is pay attention to it in the background. Tune in when needed and tune out when needed, but never tune out completely. If your squad needs you right now, and 2 other squads are communicating about something on PlatoonNet that you don't need to know, pay attention to your squad first. However, if another squad leader is trying to coordinate an assault with you, for example, and you're currently in combat, you'll need to do your best to keep up the fight while managing 2 sets of comms. It's not an easy task, but I can guarantee you it will get easier with time and practice. And sometimes you will miss calls directed at you simply because the guns around you are too loud, and that's okay. This is why it's best practice to establish comms first, which I'll go over shortly. If this is all brand new to you, I'd stay out of PlatoonNet until you get the basics of Bellum down. Then you can try a fire team leader position first, where you won't have to transmit to PlatoonNet as much, and you can listen to all the back and forth and take it in until you really understand how it works. And a small side note here. This might sound obvious to some, but when speaking in these channels, make sure you do press the key before you start speaking, and you release the key maybe a half second after you've stopped talking. I've heard a lot of transmissions get cut off because people are a little too quick pressing and releasing the key, so just be careful with that. So next, let's cover radio etiquette. The most important advice I have is that you want to tell people everything they need to know in as little words as possible. You'll learn why this is important if you haven't already. You might be trying to help a machine gunner engage enemy targets with loud gunfire right next to you, while your squad is going back and forth in your left ear and maybe even 2 squads talking to each other in your right ear. It can get pretty chaotic, so brevity is incredibly important in this game. You want to be as brief as possible while still conveying all of the information that others need to know. So, when communicating in Bellum, try to remember your ABCs. You want to be accurate, brief, and clear. You want everything you say to be exact, you want to get your message across quickly, and you want it to not be jumbled. And let me pause here to say that a major habit that a lot of people need to get out of is saying me. Bellum is aiming for realism, so it has an intentionally limited UI. So no one will know who me is, so try to get out of this habit as quickly as you can. I often play as squad leader, so if my squad is a little spread out, I might say something like, "Contact was spotted 50 meters west of squad lead." So to be accurate in your comms, it helps to remember what role you're playing as, to use that as a point of reference. It's also helpful to try to maintain situational awareness throughout the game. If your fire team is getting oriented watching a tree line to your southeast, try to remember that. Of course, if you forget, just check your watch. This will make callouts easier for you and more accurate for your team. To be brief, you simply want to get the information to your team in as little words as possible. This goes hand in hand with being clear. If you think you're going to trip over your words, give yourself a second to think and then press the push to talk key. Instead of,
"There's, I see like maybe 3 or 4 guys, over there in that, tree line."
you want to get to the point of saying, "Contact spotted, tree line to our northeast, fire team size element." If you play enough, you'll also get good at judging distance, so you can throw in 200 meters northeast. And going back to being accurate, make sure to never exaggerate what you see. If you only see 3 enemies, don't say, "I see a full squad." If you need a trick for making callouts, remember your 3 Ds: direction, distance, and description. It's often set as distance direction description. I think the US Army uses it that way, but it's often the case that direction works well as the first thing you say, especially when enemies are close by, so that everyone on your team can get oriented toward the contact. When making callouts, these 3 Ds are a great way of making sure you've covered the bases, and saying something like "contact spotted" first will get everyone locked in.
Contact is in the tree line south of the yellow house.
There's 2 of them on the shed on the far side of the yellow house.
So an excellent callout would be "contact spotted northwest, 200 meters, squad size element moving right to left." Use your best judgment on that last description portion. Now, there are some important nuances when speaking on PlatoonNet that I'll go over here. PlatoonNet can be a wild ride, as I was saying earlier. If you're getting involved in PlatoonNet for the first time, remember that a whole lot of people hear you every time you talk in PlatoonNet. So while it may be imperative that you relay some information over to another squad, you're also adding chatter to every team leader's ear. And those team leaders may be actively engaged or may be trying to hear their own squad's callouts. So the most important thing here is to be quick and concise. Try not to contribute to incessant PlatoonNet chatter. Another important thing about PlatoonNet is you really won't know who's talking. It could be someone across the entire map from you, and you'll learn that when a new guy jumps into a leadership role and isn't doing the best job, he'll keep talking without identifying himself. He might say something like, "Squad 1-2, we need you to reinforce us." Don't be this guy. As you already know, nobody knows who us or me is. This is why it's key when speaking in PlatoonNet to first establish comms. To establish comms with someone, remember to say, "You, this is me." Well, don't actually say "you" or "me." Here's an example. Let's say you're squad leader for squad 1-3, and your team's on a recon mission, and you've got eyes on an enemy squad that's heading in the direction of squad 1-1. You now need to contact squad 1-1 and let them know. The easiest way to do this is to start by saying, 1-1, this is 1-3. When everyone in PlatoonNet hears this, they now know that squad 1-3 is attempting to establish comms with 1-1. You might get a response like 1-1 here, or go for 1-1, or send it. Either way, the response should be telling you that 1-1 acknowledges your call and is ready to receive information. Once this line of communication is open, then send the information their way, and again, remember your ABCs. You might then say 1-3, full enemy squad, spotted in the tree line to your direct south, heading east. Now the squad leader and both fire team leaders in squad 1-3 heard your call out and are prepared for the enemy contact.
1-2, this is 1-4 to Island. Movement to your northwest on the hill.
And remember, don't get angry if someone isn't responding to you in this game. They may be incapacitated and unconscious and waiting for aid. They could also have a lot of squad comms going on themselves. They could also have a machine gunner 5 meters to their right spraying rounds downrange and they can't hear a thing. If you don't get a response, wait a little bit and then repeat your call. If you're still not getting any response, you can assume that that person is in no position to be talking to you right now. You can still send the information their way and maybe they'll hear it. If comms are established but somebody wants to make sure the message was received, you might hear "how copy." I often hear this in Bellum when the platoon leader is sending orders down the line. He might say 1-2, this is 1-6, squad 1-1 is engaging enemy contact to his northwest, we need you pushing up the right flank, how copy. This means that the platoon leader 1-6 wants you to acknowledge his order. Repeating the order isn't necessary here, but it can help with clarity, so you could say 1-6, 1-2, roger, pushing up the right flank to enemy contact. So those are the best practices for platoon net, and that takes us into our next chapter here on common military lingo. I'll go over the terminology, jargon, and acronyms you might hear while playing Bellum. Since the military has standard terms they use on the radio, you'll see those used in Bellum. I'll go over the main stuff you'll probably hear. And there's so much stuff I could cover here, but I'd rather not make this an hour-long video, so I'll just stick to the most common things I've heard in game. So to start off with the most simplest things, for someone answering yes, you'll hear Roger or Raj, affirm or affirmative, or acknowledged. Copy is also common, so you'll probably hear the usual solid copy, good copy, copy all, etc. Wilco is also basically a yes, meaning will comply. So for example, you might hear
1-2, you have a squad size element, marks are accurate, we have visual.
4. Eyes.
Copy that.
to say no, negative is your best response. For example, 1-6, 1-2, negative, no eyes on enemy contact.
1-5, this is 1-1.
Go for 1-5.
1-5, do you have eyes on the river crossing to your west?
It's a neg. 1-5 is gonna move over to the west to watch river crossing.
When you need someone to repeat something, you'll want to say again. Let's say another squad called for you on platoon net, but you didn't fully hear his message, you could say 1-1, 1-2, say again. And to correct something, you can say correction. Let's say you say to someone, 1-1, this is 1-2, 4 times enemy contact spotted moving northbound on the MSR, how copy? And let's say you hear back, 1-2, 1-1, 5 times enemy contact spotted northbound on MSR, copy. In response, you should say 1-1, 1-2, correction, 4 times enemy contact spotted moving northbound on the MSR. Starting by saying correction first lets the person know the information they have is wrong. When something crazy is going down, you might hear,
Break, break, break.
Usually this happens when people are talking on platoon net and out of the blue you just hear someone start yelling, break, break, break. The person saying this is basically saying, shut up. The reason behind this is that the person has information that must be provided immediately. A good example for this is 2 squads might be talking about positioning on platoon net. Not much going on, no one's in combat, when suddenly a 3rd squad has been ambushed by the enemy. This squad leader should be throwing in a break in platoon net to get everyone to zip it up, shut their mouths, clear the comms channel, and get ready for an urgent message. If you use this yourself, just make sure it's only in an emergency when the information you have is urgent and worth cutting everyone off for.
1-1, this is 1-3.
Go for 1-1.
And you guys open up. 1-1's at contact. 30 meters from.
And obviously avoid speaking in platoon net when someone else is talking unless you're using this method here during an emergency. You may hear someone ask you for a sit rep, a situation report. If you've been in combat for 5 or 10 minutes and you haven't provided an update to the platoon because you're busy engaging the enemy and dealing with casualties, you might hear 1-1, 1-6, sit rep. Here you'll just want to provide 1-6 with an update on your situation. You could say 1-6, 1-1, we have 2 casualties and are pinned down by enemy gunfire to our direct north. At the squad level, you might also hear someone ask for an ACE report. Some people will simply say, give me an ACE. ACE stands for ammunition, casualties, and equipment. For its use in Bellum, the main things to look at here are your ammo and your health. Press Ctrl and T to check your ammo, and hold H to see your medical menu. Basically, your squad leader's trying to gauge how much combat your team can sustain, and you want to report this information up. If you're a rifleman, tell your fire team leader you're down to only 3 mags, or you could use a blood bag. The fire team lead should be gathering this information and sending it up the line to their squad leader. If you hear someone say tick, it means troops in contact. It's a very simple term. It's just a really quick way of saying we're currently fighting the enemy. This is often used if someone has very little time to communicate. If you hear 1-3 tick in platoon net, this means that 1-3 just started taking contact. Over and out and break aren't used much in Bellum, but you may hear them. Over means you've just finished saying what you have to say. 1-1, this is 1-2, check fire, we are moving in your direction from south, over. Out means you're leaving the conversation. 1-1, this is 1-2, we are moving to engage enemy contact, out. And break is military lingo for a pause. Maybe the platoon leader is giving several orders at once. You might hear, 1-1, we need you setting up on the hilltop at Juliet 6-7, break. 1-2, you should reinforce 1-4's right flank, break. Break is just establishing a little time so everyone can pay attention without information overload. And now for a rapid fire round on other things you might hear. If you hear someone say net call on platoon net, the message they're about to say is for everyone in the platoon, so pay attention. Interrogative is obvious, but sometimes people start a transmission with interrogative to indicate they're about to ask a question. An ODA is an open danger area. These are the scariest places in Bellum. In the first map, Highlands, these are usually the wide open terrain features between tree lines. An ODA is dangerous territory, and unless the game has just started, leaders are often going to try some type of technique like bounding when crossing an ODA to limit casualties. If someone tells you this is the LOA, that means it's the limit of advance. It's a designated line that says, stop here. If you're assaulting, don't cross this line. It's basically a way for leaders to designate good terrain features or avoid overstretching a team. If you're brand new to this type of game, you might be unfamiliar with the term bearing. This is the little number on your watch that tells you the direction you're facing. If you said that there's enemy contact northwest and someone asks you for a bearing, chances are they're looking northwest but they don't see the enemy. So they need a more specific location. Look at your watch and read off the numbers that you see there. An MSR is a main supply route. This term is usually for a large road that would be used to bring supplies to forward units. The MSR can sometimes be obvious, just take a look at your map and look for a large road. In Bellum's Highlands map, that's usually the paved road. And this one might be obvious, but if someone tells you to break contact, you are trying to disengage from combat. Your job is to fall back and reposition. Breaking contact doesn't necessarily mean you're being taken out of the fight. It just means you need to get back and find better cover or deal with casualties or something like that. You don't want to be blindly running away from the enemy here, but you do want to assess the situation and safely remove yourself from the battle when you can. You're not retreating, you're just attacking from a different direction. So that's pretty much all the common lingo I hear when playing Bellum. There are some terms that are less used, but you can learn those as you go. Hopefully this video gives you a good start for your Bellum comms journey. If you haven't learned the basic controls of the game yet, be sure to check out my earlier video called Bellum Basics for Beginners, and I plan on making more of these beginners videos in the future, so if there's anything in this game that you find difficult that you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to have some fun out there. This game has a serious vibe, but it's also fun as hell. Good luck, so long, goodbye.
Dropped one.